I believe you were led here for a reason. Maybe you were scrolling without a plan, maybe you were searching for something specific, or maybe you just happened to click without thinking too much. But in moments like this, I do not believe in chance. I believe that every step, even the small ones, can be guided. Take a moment and think about the last few days. Have you felt a quiet nudge in your heart? That gentle thought that says, there is something more for you? Sometimes it comes when you are alone at night, other times in the middle of a busy day when you pause for no reason. It is almost like something deep inside is trying to get your attention. I have felt that before. I remember sitting in a crowded place, surrounded by noise, and yet feeling a sudden stillness in my heart, as if God Himself was speaking softly. I have something for you. It is hard to explain, but it is real. Right now, I believe there is a shift happening around you. Something in the atmosphere is moving in your favor. You might not see it yet, but it is already in motion. And the beautiful thing? You do not need to figure out every detail before it arrives. So as you listen, I want you to stay open. Keep your heart ready. Ask yourself, what if this message is exactly what I was meant to hear today? Because sometimes the answer you have been waiting for does not arrive in the way you expect. It arrives in a moment just like this. I want you to pause for a moment and really hear this. There are times when life feels steady and predictable, and then there are moments when God steps in and shifts everything in a way that does not follow any familiar pattern. This is one of those moments. You might not have seen it coming, but that is the beauty of it. It will not arrive in the usual way, and it will not follow the usual rules. I truly believe you are standing on the edge of something extraordinary. It may feel like you are in the middle of ordinary days, doing ordinary things, but what is about to happen will carry a divine fingerprint. The kind of change I am talking about is not just another opportunity or small improvement. This will be the kind of blessing that turns heads, the kind that makes people stop and ask, how did that happen? Think about the times in your life when something good happened that you could not have planned yourself. Maybe it was an unexpected phone call that opened a door for you. Maybe it was meeting someone by chance who later became an important part of your journey. These moments often carry the mark of something bigger than us, a reminder that God's timing is both mysterious and perfect. What I sense for you is not simply a reward for hard work, although your effort matters. This is about divine orchestration. It is about God setting up moments behind the scenes while you were simply trying to be faithful with what you had. You might have thought nothing was happening, but heaven has been aligning details in your favor. Let me share something personal. I once walked through a season where nothing seemed to be moving forward. I kept doing the work, I kept showing up, but the results I expected were nowhere to be found. I began to wonder if I had misunderstood the path I was on. Then, in the space of 1 week, doors opened that I had been knocking on for years. Opportunities appeared from directions I had not even considered. Looking back, I realized the delay was not wasted time. It was preparation time. You may be in that kind of space right now. It may not look like a breakthrough season, but that is why this upcoming shift will be so impactful. It will feel like it came out of nowhere, yet when it arrives, you will see how every step up until now was part of the setup. The way it will happen might not make sense in human terms. It might not follow the path others expect, but that is exactly what will make it undeniable. People around you may try to explain it away or credit it to luck, but you will know in your heart that it was the hand of God. There is a unique joy in experiencing something you know you could never have achieved by your own strength alone. Here is the part one want you to hold on to. This blessing will not only be for you. Yes, it will change your circumstances and elevate your life, but it will also carry a testimony for others. Your story will become an encouragement for someone else who is still waiting for their moment. Can I ask you something? If you knew that the next phone call, meeting, or even casual conversation could be the doorway to your next chapter. How would you carry yourself today? Would you walk with more confidence? Would you speak with more hope? Because when you expect something good, it changes the way you move in your current space. I encourage you to start preparing your heart as if the shift is already in motion. Imagine the day you will look back and say, "That was the moment everything turned." Speak words of gratitude now, even before you see the evidence. Gratitude has a way of making room for more. You might be thinking, "This all sounds beautiful, but how can I be sure?" The truth is, faith often feels like stepping into a room before the light is turned on. You take the step and the light follows. You trust that the one who promised is faithful to complete it. When this happens, and I believe it will silence the voices that questioned you. Not because you need to prove anything to them, but because God's work in your life will speak louder than any explanation you could give. And the most incredible part? You will not even feel the need to justify it. You will simply live in the joy of it, letting your story speak for itself. So here is my prophetic announcement for you today. Prepare to see movement in areas that have felt still. Prepare for answers that arrive in ways you could not have scripted. Prepare for joy that catches you off guard. This is not a far-off hope. This is a word for now. You are about to witness something that will not make sense to your mind, but will make perfect sense to your spirit. You have been faithful in the waiting, and the one who sees you has been working all along. Take a deep breath, open your heart, and let expectation rise. Because when God decides it is time, nothing and no one can stop what is coming your way. If this word resonates with your spirit, let it be known. Like this video so others can hear it too. Subscribe so you are ready for what God is preparing in this unusual hour. Drop your city and time in the comments so we can pray over your specific location and season. And if you feel led to plant a prophetic seed into this word, the link is in the description. There is something deeply reassuring about knowing that God's thoughts are higher than our thoughts, and His ways are higher than our ways. Isaiah 55 verses 8 to 9 paints this picture beautifully. It is like standing on the ground and looking at the horizon. You can only see so far. But God's perspective is like standing on the highest mountain, seeing the full landscape all at once. He sees the past, the present, and the future with perfect clarity. When I read that scripture, I am reminded that even when things do not seem to align with my expectations, they can still be perfectly aligned with God's purpose. Think about it. If God worked only in ways that we could understand, He would never be able to surprise us. The beauty of His plan is that it is often beyond human reasoning. The Bible is full of examples where God's methods did not follow the usual path. When the Israelites were trapped between the Red Sea and the Egyptian army, the logical expectation was defeat. Instead, God parted the waters, creating a way where there was none. That miracle was not only for their deliverance, it became a story of faith that has inspired generations. Consider David facing Goliath. Every soldier in Israel's army looked at the giant and saw an impossible battle. David looked at the same giant and saw an opportunity for God's power to be displayed. He did not use armor or advanced weapons. He used a sling and a stone. By human standards, it made no sense. But when God is involved, the size of the obstacle does not determine the outcome. And what about Mary, a young woman from a humble background, being told she would carry the Messiah? It was an announcement that defied biology and social norms. Yet God chose her, not because she fit the world's idea of capability, but because she was willing to believe. These stories teach us something important. Faith is not about everything making sense in the moment. Faith is about trusting that God knows exactly what He is doing, even when you cannot yet see the full picture. I have seen this in my own life too. There have been times when I thought I had everything mapped out, only to watch my plans dissolve. At first, it felt like a detour, but later I could see it was actually the perfect route. Looking back, I realized that if things had gone according to my plan, I would have missed something much greater. Let me ask you this. Have you ever been through a season where you felt you were being rerouted? Maybe a door closed, or something you had been building suddenly shifted direction. At the time, it may have been confusing, but later you found yourself in a place that was even better than you expected. That is the essence of Isaiah's message. God's way is not just different, it is higher, better, and beyond what we could design ourselves. Faith grows in these moments of uncertainty. It is easy to trust when everything is visible and makes sense. The real growth happens when you choose to trust in the unseen. When you keep walking forward, even though you do not yet know where the next step will lead, that is when faith becomes alive. I often think of it like planting a seed. You place it in the soil, cover it, and then wait. You cannot see what is happening beneath the ground, but you water it, care for it, and trust that life is forming in the hidden place. Eventually, that seed pushes through the soil, and you see the evidence of what was happening all along. God works in our lives in the same way. Much of His work begins in the unseen, and then, at the right time, it becomes visible. So if you are in a season where you are not sure how things will work out, remember this. The absence of visible progress does not mean there is no progress. Trust that there is a greater perspective at play. Trust that the one who began a good work in you will be faithful to complete it. Because at the end of the day, the theological truth is simple yet profound. God's ways are not meant to fit into our limited understanding. They are meant to draw us closer to Him, to teach us to lean not on our own understanding, but to acknowledge Him in all our ways, knowing that He will direct our paths. I know there are moments when you look at your life and wonder, why is this taking so long? Or, why have things not unfolded the way I imagined? Those questions are natural. Even the most faithful people in the Bible had moments when they felt uncertain about their path. The important thing is to understand that uncertainty does not mean you are off track. Often, it means you are in preparation. Deuteronomy 8 verse 2 tells us that God led the Israelites into the wilderness for a purpose, to humble them, to test them, and to show them what was truly in their hearts. That season was not a punishment. It was preparation for the promise. The wilderness was not empty space. It was training ground. Think about it this way. When a builder is preparing to construct a strong house, they spend significant time on the foundation. You may not see anything impressive at first, but the depth and strength of that foundation will determine how high the building can go. In the same way, God is often strengthening your inner life before elevating your outer life. Joseph's story is a powerful example. He had a dream of greatness, but before he stepped into that destiny, he experienced betrayal from his own brothers and unjust imprisonment. At first glance, those moments might have looked like detours, but they were actually part of the direct route to his calling. Every difficulty refined his character, expanded his wisdom, and positioned him exactly where he needed to be for the moment God had prepared. If you are facing a delay right now, I want you to consider the possibility that this is not a setback but a divine redirection. Sometimes God closes a door not because the destination is wrong, but because the timing is not yet right. You might feel ready, but He knows the exact moment when the opportunity will bear the most fruit. Have you ever noticed how a fruit tree takes time before it produces its first harvest? The seasons before the fruit appears are not wasted. They are seasons of deep rooting, of quiet growth beneath the surface. When the time is right, that tree produces in abundance, and its fruit is strong enough to last. Your journey is much the same. I have walked through seasons where it seemed like nothing was happening. I kept showing up, kept doing the work, kept holding on to faith, but outwardly, there was no sign of change. Later, I realized those seasons were shaping me in ways I could not see at the time. My patience grew deeper. My trust became stronger, and when the shift finally happened, I was prepared to handle it in a way I would not have been before. Here is something I encourage you to reflect on. What if the very things you see as delays are actually protecting you from something you cannot yet see? What if this waiting season is preserving your strength for the exact moment when you will need it most? The truth is, God is never careless with your time. Every moment, even the ones that feel still, has purpose. The wilderness seasons teach you resilience. They teach you to depend on something greater than your own abilities. They teach you that your identity and worth are not tied to immediate results. You may not be able to see the full picture right now, but you can choose to trust the artist who is painting it. From up close, the brushstrokes may look random, but when you step back, you will see how each one was part of something beautiful. So if you find yourself asking, when will it happen? Remember Joseph in the prison, the Israelites in the wilderness, and even moments from your own life when you thought the story was over, but it was only beginning. Your current chapter is not the conclusion. It is simply the space where God is adding strength to your foundation, refining your vision, and aligning the right opportunities. When the timing is right, everything will make sense in a way it could not have before. Until then, keep your heart open, keep your faith active, and know that the delay is not the end. It is preparation for something that will be worth the wait. There are moments in life when change does not creep in slowly. It arrives all at once, and it shifts everything. This is what I call a sudden breakthrough. It is that moment when you wake up expecting an ordinary day, and by the time you lay your head down at night, your world looks completely different. Think of the story of Lazarus. By the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus had been in the tomb for 4 days. To everyone watching, the situation was finished. They had accepted what they saw with their eyes. But then Jesus called out, "Lazarus, come forth." And in an instant, life returned where there had been none. No one could explain it. No one could deny it. That is the nature of a sudden breakthrough. It leaves no room for doubt that something greater is at work. I believe that kind of moment can happen for you too. It may not look exactly like Lazarus' story, but it can carry the same power, a turnaround so significant that it becomes a defining moment in your life. Perhaps it will be an unexpected opportunity that perfectly fits your gifts. Perhaps it will be a long-awaited answer to a prayer you have been holding in your heart for years. Or maybe it will be a personal shift inside you. A new clarity, a new boldness, a new peace that changes the way you approach everything. Here is what I have noticed about sudden breakthroughs. They often happen after a long season of preparation. There is a building, a layering, a quiet movement behind the scenes, and then suddenly all of that hidden work becomes visible. It is like watching a flower bloom. You see the petals open in a single moment, but that bloom was weeks, even months in the making. I remember a time when I was working on something for years with what felt like minimal results. I stayed consistent, but part of me wondered if all the effort was making any real difference. Then, seemingly overnight, everything aligned. A conversation led to a connection led to an open door, and in less than a week, what I had been waiting for was in front of me. People who saw the change thought it happened instantly, but I knew it was the product of years of unseen faithfulness. That is what I want to encourage you with. Just because you cannot see the progress does not mean it is not building. When the right moment comes, it will happen quickly, but it will not feel rushed. It will feel like perfect timing. The Apostle Paul reminds us in 1 Corinthians 1 verses 27 to 29 that God often uses what the world considers unlikely to bring about his purposes. That means your breakthrough may not come through the path others expect. It may arrive in a way that makes people stop and say, "I would never have thought it would happen like that." That is when you will know it is not just a coincidence. It is divine orchestration. Let me ask you something. If you knew that your suddenly could happen any day now, how would you live today? Would you carry more hope? Would you treat each moment as a seed for the future you are about to step into? Sometimes living with expectation is the very thing that keeps your heart ready to receive. So here is my encouragement to you. Keep your eyes open, your spirit alert, and your faith steady. You may not be able to predict the exact day or hour, but when your breakthrough comes, you will recognize it. And when it arrives, it will not just bless you, it will inspire others, because they will see in your story the undeniable hand of God. Your suddenly is not far away. Stay ready. Faith and logic do not always walk in the same direction. Logic tells you to measure, calculate, and predict before you take a step. Faith, on the other hand, asks you to step forward even when the ground ahead looks uncertain. There are times when God leads you into something that simply does not fit into the neat boxes of human reasoning. You might look at the situation and think, "This does not make sense," and yet, somewhere deep inside, you feel that gentle nudge to trust. That is faith over logic, the willingness to follow God's leading even when your mind cannot map out every detail. Think about Noah. Logic would have told him there was no reason to build an ark. There was no rain, no flood in sight, yet faith told him to start building. Step by step, plank by plank, he followed the instruction he had been given. And when the rain came, his obedience made perfect sense. I have had moments like that in my own life, moments where I felt a clear pull toward a decision that seemed completely unreasonable on paper. Friends would ask, "Are you sure this is the right move?" And honestly, I could not give them a strategic explanation. All I had was a deep peace that this was the way forward. Looking back, those were the moments that led to the biggest blessings. Sometimes God will ask you to walk in a direction that looks like a dead end to everyone else. It may be starting something new without all the resources in place. It may be forgiving someone when everyone tells you that you have the right to stay angry. It may be saying yes to an opportunity that does not match your current skill set. Logic will raise every reason why it will not work. Faith whispers, "If God is leading, the path will open." Faith over logic is not about ignoring wisdom or common sense. It is about recognizing that there is a higher wisdom at play, one that sees beyond the limits of your sight. Logic looks at the facts in front of you. Faith trusts the one who holds the facts you cannot yet see. Let me ask you, has there ever been a time when you felt God guiding you towards something that seemed impossible? What did you do? Did you hold back, waiting for every answer, or did you take the step? Sometimes that single step into the unknown becomes the bridge to the very thing you were praying for. When Peter stepped out of the boat to walk toward Jesus on the water, it made no logical sense. The laws of nature said it could not be done. But for as long as his eyes stayed on Jesus, he walked on the impossible. That is the beauty of faith. It allows you to experience what logic cannot explain. Choosing faith over logic does not mean the journey will feel comfortable. It often feels like standing at the edge of a cliff and hearing God say, "Jump, and I will give you wings." Everything in you wants to see the wings first. But faith says, "If he has called me, the wings will come." My encouragement to you is this. The next time you feel God leading you towards something that seems beyond reason, pause and listen. Ask yourself, is this prompting filling me with fear or with peace? True faith often comes with a quiet, unshakable peace, even if the situation looks uncertain. And when you take that step, you will discover something incredible. The path will begin to form under your feet one step at a time. You will realize that faith over logic is not reckless. It is trusting the one who sees the full picture when you can only see a corner of it. Life has a way of moving slowly in some seasons. You pray, you wait, and it feels as though nothing is shifting. You wake up day after day thinking, maybe today will be different. and still, things seem the same. But then, out of nowhere, comes that moment we can only describe as suddenly. It is the moment when the phone call you have been waiting for finally comes. It is when the answer to a prayer shows up at your doorstep without warning. It is when what you have been believing for arrives so quickly that you almost have to catch your breath. That is what makes suddenly moments so powerful. They often come when you are least expecting them. Think about it. One ordinary day can turn into the day that changes everything. Joseph went from a prison cell to a palace in a single day. One morning, he woke up wearing chains. That evening, he was wearing royal robes. That is the speed and surprise of God's timing. I remember a friend telling me how she had been praying for a job for months. Every interview seemed to end with a polite, "We will get back to you." She kept showing up, kept applying, even when it felt tiring. Then one morning, her phone rang with not one, but 2 job offers. She laughed as she told me, "It was like God waited until the perfect moment to make it happen, and then he did it all at once." That is the kind of suddenly that leaves you in awe. The beautiful thing about these moments is that they are not random. They are the result of seeds planted in faith long before the breakthrough comes. Your prayers, your acts of kindness, your obedience, none of them are wasted. You may not see the results immediately, but they are building toward that perfect timing. Let me ask you, how many times have you been close to giving up right before something shifted? It is almost like the most challenging moments often come right before the suddenly arrives. That is why it is so important to keep going, to keep trusting, even when you cannot see how it will happen. Sometimes God allows the delay so that when the breakthrough comes, there is no doubt about who made it happen. When it happens suddenly, it is so clear that it was His hand, not human effort or coincidence. And when it does, the joy and gratitude that overflow in your heart are unlike anything else. I think of it like watching the sunrise. You wait through the dark hours, and nothing seems to change. But then, in a single moment, light breaks across the horizon. It is still the same world you were standing in a minute ago, but everything looks different because of the light. That is exactly how a suddenly moment feels, the same life, but now touched by a shift that changes everything. If you are in a waiting season right now, I want to encourage you, your suddenly could be closer than you think. It may happen this week or even today. Stay faithful, stay expectant, because when it comes, it will not just meet your expectation, it will exceed it. And when that moment arrives, do not forget to pause, take it in, and thank God for the way He works. The waiting will suddenly make sense. The prayers will suddenly feel worth it. And you will realize that in one unexpected moment, everything changed for the better. Father, in the name of Jesus, I decree over every chosen one listening right now. Chains are broken. Doors are opening. What was blocked is being released. I speak blessings that will overtake them, favor that will surround them, and peace that will guard their hearts. Let every plan of the enemy be canceled, and let every promise of yours come to pass. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. If this word has confirmed something in your spirit, share it with someone who needs hope today. And if you feel led, you can plant a seed into this prophetic word. Even the smallest seed has the power to grow into something great.